Just recently I spoke about all of the Avatar The Way of Water footage that was shown at the D23 panel this weekend, but of course a lot of news outlets started reporting on what they've seen, so there's been a ton of more info that came from the D23 footage. Avatar Theory here, hope you're doing well and having a fantastic day. And somebody over on Reddit going by the name of Otis the Alley Cat, really unique username, was kind enough to compile all of the information in one Reddit thread, so all of the credit goes to Otis the Alley Cat, and I will leave a link to that Reddit thread in the description below. But in this video, basically I'm going to go over all of the info that we received by all of the news outlets, and there's quite a ton of new info that I've not really known myself, so I'm essentially gonna go over the different clips and then pause for a second and then just give my thoughts on it as we go along. So the first one starts, quote, "There were 5 or 6 clips shown. The first showed Sully's kids playing underwater with a lot of sea creatures swimming around, fishes and a squid-like creature. This was supposedly the most visually stunning of the clips, and the 3D was beyond anything ever seen before. This clip contained only brief dialogue in the form of sign language, how the Na'vi communicate underwater, and there were subtitles in the papyrus format. The rest of the clip was mostly music." End quote. Well, I'm very happy to know that the papyrus format is returning to Avatar, but it's really interesting to know that the Na'vi communicate underwater using sign language. It's likely the Metkayina clan and probably what Jake and Neytiri and their kids are going to learn from this clan, because of course Jake, coming from, humans essentially, he didn't really learn sign language, so it's really going to be interesting how he also adapts to this underwater tribe, to this underwater community. And what I'm happy to hear about is that the 3D is what they say, quote, "was beyond anything ever seen before," end quote. So, usually when the movie is in 3D, I'm very skeptical. Avatar was by far the best 3D movie I'd ever seen back in 2009. I'm very happy, very excited to see the remaster in 3D again, but 3D was, more often than not, it is a bit overhyped, so knowing that the 3D was beyond anything ever seen before, that makes me very, very excited for the sequel. Going on to the next paragraph, quote, "The second clip involved a battle scene in the Pandoran jungle at night while it was raining. RDA recoms were holding the Sully kids hostage, including Spider and Kiri, and some Na'vi, including Neytiri, were there to rescue them. Apparently this was a shockingly violent scene, with one recom getting his head sliced between the eyes with an axe and another being impaled by a giant arrow. Quaritch was there, hiding behind a tree trunk. He sees one of his own get killed by an arrow and recognizes it as Neytiri's and refers to it as her calling card. He also calls Neytiri Mrs. Sully. The scene ends in a cliffhanger with Neytiri's head locked on with the trigger shown in the shooter's point of view," end quote. Now right there immediately, knowing that this is going to be somewhat of a violent movie to a certain extent, I wouldn't say it makes me excited, but the way they refer to as shockingly violent, we haven't really seen Na'vi being killed in such a shockingly violent scene. I mean, we of course had the scene in the first movie where the RDA just blows up the Na'vi, and we see a lot of Na'vi get killed, but it's more in explosions and stuff like that. We don't really see them get killed in this instance where where the way they describe it, by an axe sliced between the eyes, where that is, and another being impaled by a giant arrow. That's going to be really interesting to see, essentially Na'vi fighting Na'vi. I know it's recoms, so the fact that they say RDA recoms gives me the indication that there's going to be this military force, this troops of recoms, which I've been saying in previous videos. I've wanted to see Na'vi fight Na'vi essentially in this movie, because of course of their size and their power, I want them to see how it's going to be if two armies of Na'vi fight against each other. And yes, they're not Na'vi in the true sense, but recoms being killed that way, I do wonder how that's going to affect the different tribes, because a lot of tribes are not really going to understand understand what these creatures, these scientifically designed creatures are. So it's really going to be interesting to see that. And the fact that Quaritch is there just observing this, it seems like he's more observing this battle and seeing what happens. I do wonder if that's going to affect him in the end, just, see, all this violence is essentially being caused by the RDA, and then he's just going to be like, I don't want to be a part of this anymore. But going on to the third paragraph, quote, the third clip shows Kiri, Loak, and Spider in a lab similar to the one in the first movie. Kiri climbs to the top of the tank containing Grace's lifeless avatar. It's implied that Grace is her mother, and she wonders who her father is. Loak and Spider, who are sitting on the floor below, jokingly propose that her father could be Norm. The conversation then gets more serious when Spider says that they don't want to know who his father is and that he is a very bad man, implying that it's Quaritch. End quote. Some very interesting, possibly spoiler information coming from this paragraph. It's the fact that, of course, they say that Spider's father could be Quaritch, which is something I thought about for quite some time. It's something that I've been speculating in my mind, and I don't know if that's going to be true. It's going to be a very, obvious thing, and I know James Cameron does like his twists in the movie, his unexpected twists, so that's going to be a very obvious twist. So I'm not sure. He does say his father is a very bad man, but he says it in a way in the present tense. He says his father is a very bad man, and we know that Quaritch, or the human form of Quaritch, already died, so he would have then said my father was a very bad man. So that would have implied that Quaritch was his father, because Quaritch died in the first movie. Well, the human form of him died in the first movie. So the fact that he says he is a very bad man, I mean, you can argue that Quaritch is, he is coming back in recon form, so that way he is in quotes alive still, but you understand what I mean by saying that Quaritch died, his human form died in the first movie. So that way you can say that Quaritch, the fact that he says he is a very bad man implies that his father is still alive. So that could be, I don't know, it could be somebody completely different, somebody unexpected that we don't know about, or that we may have heard about, or I don't know, that we've not yet seen. We don't know. At the moment, all things are pointing to Quaritch being his father, but who knows? And that also the fact that they state that Grace is Kiri's mother is also interesting. It's definitely not, her father is not Norm, because we know that in deleted scenes that Trudy and Norm had a relationship that I will talk about in a different video, but Trudy and Norm had a relationship together that was in deleted scenes. You even see them essentially sleeping together in deleted scenes of the original movies. So, definitely not Grace and Norm. That's definitely not going to happen. And I do think the way they say that it implies Grace is Kiri's mother, where Kiri climbs on the top of the tank containing Grace's lifeless avatar. It's mostly, my speculation is because Grace is reincarnated in Kiri's body essentially. So that's why Kiri is drawn to Grace's lifeless avatar. She feels this connection because she essentially comes from Grace in that sense. So I wouldn't say that Grace was Kiri's mother. I think it's more just because it's in a sense, I suppose if you say it's an offspring from Grace or Grace's avatar, you can say in that way it is her mother in quotes, but it's not the traditional mother-father way that you think of. Going on to the fourth paragraph, it says, quote, the fourth clip has descriptions that seems fuzzy to me, but from what I've gathered, there's some sort of romance between Loak and Siraya. Siraya gets scolded by her father Tonawari. The shot of her crying in the teaser is from that scene, and it's clear there's some sort of tension between the Metkayina and the Sully family, end quote. Now, this was something I also speculated before, that there's definitely going to be a lot of tension when Jake arrives at the Metkayina clan, because he's essentially going to leave his area and then come to this clan and say, we seek your help, my family needs your help. And of course the Metkayina clan is going to see, that everywhere Jake goes, trouble essentially follows him. So they don't want trouble to join, they don't want trouble to come to their clan and destroy their family and disrupt their lifestyle. But obviously that does happen based on the teaser eventually. So there is bound to be some sort of romance between Jake's kids and some of the kids of the Metkayina clan. That is a typical movie cliche thing. This, the parents hate each other, but the kids fall in love kind of thing. That you've seen in dozens upon dozens of movies, and then you see at the end end the parents, they sacrifice everything because they could see their kids are meant to be together, and then they protect their kids because the movie has to happen. That kind of traditional story. I think that's part of The Way of Water, but of course there's going to be a lot of twists and turns. Going on to the next paragraph, the fifth clip involves an argument between Jake and Neytiri. Neytiri wants to stay, but Jake wants to leave because the RDA are coming to raid their home. Supposedly, Spider leaks some intel about the military coming, which prompts them to go. The argument is watched discreetly by the Sully kids on a platform or something above them. This is the scene where Jake says the line, "This family is our fortress," uttered in the teaser trailer. End quote. Now, again, something that I said before is that Jake and Neytiri is going to argue because Neytiri is going to be like, you have to, be with us, be with the family, forget the RDA, forget Courage, forget all this war nonsense. And then Jake is probably going to be like, it doesn't matter where I go, the RDA is going to keep coming after us. So, I have to stand my ground. I have to protect our family because this family is our fortress. I think that's the kind of attitude and the kind of vibe that's going to happen in this movie. And there's been a lot of talks online and speculations on, is Jake going to die in the second movie? I don't think he's going to die in the second movie. I do have a feeling that he's likely going to die maybe in the third or fourth Avatar movie, and then later on the movie's focus is going to slowly shift towards his kids. But I don't think he's going to die in the second one, definitely not the second one. But there's going to be a lot of family aspects to it. The movie is all about, I know that Sam Worthington has come on stage and said the movie's all about family. Hopefully it doesn't have a crossover with Fast and the Furious. But, the fact that they say that Spider leaks some intel about the military makes me wonder how he got that intel. Was he, again, that speculation that I had a while ago that I said that, Spider is essentially, he wants to become an Avatar himself because he feels that he's always left out, that he's slower, that he's weaker. And then the recoms, essentially the RDA tells him, if you come with us, then, we'll give you your own Avatar body that you can do all these things. And that's why you have those scene where Spider is so excited when he puts his face against the tube where an Avatar body is in. And I think in those scenes he gets some intel about the RDA and what their plans are, and it's going to be like almost like not a backstabbing, but like a double cross thing. So Jake's family thinks that Spider has abandoned them and joined the RDA, but then he actually did that so that the RDA can, so that he can essentially get some intel from the RDA for his family. And I think that's how he's going to get the intel to his family. So that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out, the family dynamic in the whole mixed with the war and everything else. And then there's just a few extra things that was also pointed out by different news outlets that I just quickly want to run through, and just I'll comment about that at the end of all this. But it starts, quote, "The high frame rate presented in the clips was a little distracting for some, while others didn't notice it. Kiri talks vocally using Sigourney Weaver's unmodulated voice. One viewer described it as a little off-putting with such a deep voice on a little kid's body, but said it probably just needs getting used to. The Metkayina clan speaks in English. Neytiri's voice sounds noticeably older. All viewers, from what I've read, described what they saw is visually spectacular, beyond anything ever, and that it puts all other current movies' visuals, including those others revealed at the expo, to shame. The 3D was described as pushing boundaries. The facial animations were a huge improvement, and here's some quotes from different magazines and news outlets. Truly breathtaking from Empire Magazine. The most visually stunning cinematic experience of all time from CNET. It's unlike anything we've ever seen from Gizmodo. Cameron's Avatar footage wowed the audience like none other from AV Club. As visually opulent as one might expect from Slash Film. The underwater sequences reportedly dazzled the crowd from HuffPost. Breathtaking from Games Radar. The level of immersion provided by the 3D and the high frame rate couldn't be more all-encompassing. The Wrap. Undeniably beautiful from Rotten Tomatoes. Visually marvelous from Paris Match. The real surprise of this D23. A real great film film in the realm of content from Lit Fargo, and finally a visual tour de force from Premiere.fr, end quote. So overall you can see that people were very visually impressed by not only the visuals from the movie, but from the 3D as well, which again really makes me excited because I am a bit in between when it comes to 3D. Sometimes, like I said, sometimes it's really incredible and sometimes it just gives me the worst headache ever. I remember watching the third Transformers movie in 3D, and 30 minutes into that movie I had the worst headache and I know there were still 2 hours left of the film. So it was one of the worst experiences in cinema ever, and there's been a lot of movies where the 3D just makes the movie seem a lot darker and it's just not that great. So I'm very happy to hear that the 3D is pushing boundaries and it's just a huge leap and it is unlike anything people have ever seen, and very excited to see the underwater effects, underwater visuals, and hopefully when I watch the 3D re-release of Avatar, hopefully they'll have a 3D trailer of the teaser trailer scene of The Way of Water so that I can experience a little bit of what the 3D will be. But overall it does seem like people are very excited about this movie. Quite a ton to take away from these different paragraphs. Very excited. Some spoilery information as well. None of this information has leaked yet online, but of course once it leaks, if it leaks, I will definitely break it down and talk about it more in detail. But what do you think about this new information? What do you think about the different paragraphs? Which clip excites you the most? Let me know in the comments below, and for more Avatar content, have a look at the rest of my channel. Until next time, have a fantastic day and stay safe.